deported. So, and I fight those cases, and we stop deportations. So what I always say to people is you have to separate the two. The Home Office, if somebody is Windrush, whereas they used to in the past before they were sorry, etc., they would deport somebody, because we know that people have been wrongly deported who were actually qualifying under the Windrush scheme. So we know that happened in the past. But I can say now that where we are now in terms of those deportations, the Home Office will not deport somebody if they qualify under the Windrush scheme. So the people that I help do not qualify under the Windrush scheme. We have to go via their human rights. So, you know, I see a lot on social media and people commenting, oh, look, they're deporting people and look what they've done for us in the Windrush. And there's two separate things altogether. The Home Office do not deport somebody if they're Windrush. So if somebody is has a Windrush case, they should not be fearful of coming forward, if they're in the UK, of coming forward to regularise their immigration status. They will not be deported.
Okay.
However, if somebody does not have a Windrush case and they've committed a criminal offence, the Home Office will not back down. If they're not Windrush, they will not back down. It's very difficult to fight those kinds of deportation cases, but they are two separate things altogether.
Can persons call you, or is there a number they can call? Where do people go for information now? Online, make telephone calls?
So we keep a very updated Facebook page. Our social media is just Clarity Visas. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the website is clarityvisas.com. And I do a free case assessment before taking on anyone's case, just to make sure that they've got a case. So anybody's welcome to touch base. Clarity Visas.
All right. Thank you so much, my sister friend Rachel O'Keller, as usual. 72 years to the date. We didn't know that we'd be talking about this today, Rachel, but here we are, 72 years to the date when the Empire Windrush sailed from Kingston Harbour, landed in Tillbury docks later on April 21. But here we are, 72 years.
Yeah, our celebrations is the 22nd of June.
All right.
Over here in the UK.
Yeah, I'm paying attention.
We do it from when it landed.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to that. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Rach.
Right. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye. You too.
If someone is not from this country, came here as an adult, has committed a serious crime that you describe, then yes, they should go back to their country. But where there is doubt as to their nationality, and they say they're British, and that is the case for the Windrush nationals, and that is what we're talking about with a flight en route to Jamaica, where we know people have been sent back and have died in Jamaica, where we know 164 people were sent back who the government say should not have been sent back. It is a travesty to deport people in this way, when actually they also came up with a compensation scheme. We find out today also that only 3% of Windrush, £64,000 has been paid out to those nationals. They are spitting in the face of West Indian and Caribbean people in this country, and you've got to call it what it is. It's shameful.
All right, 5 minutes now after 9 o'clock. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African, Empire Windrush, Tillbury Docks and the Caribbean in Britain. 72 years after the Empire Windrush set sail from Kingston Harbour, May 24, 1948, for Tillbury Docks in Britain.
The first British ships arrived in the Caribbean in 1623, and despite slavery, despite colonisation, 25,000 Caribbeans served in the First World War and Second World War alongside British troops. Can she tell the House how many have been detained as prisoners in their own country? Can she tell the House how many have been denied health under the National Health Service? How many have denied pensions? How many have lost their job? This is a day of national shame.
No strong wind will ever blow me down. No strong wind will ever blow me down. I may bend, I may twist, but understand that my life is a gift. Your words, they cannot penetrate my soul or cause me to freeze internally. 'Cause like the sun, my God holds up my universe. See, I'm dancing to my own drum and bass, and the tide is carrying me at my own pace, not yours. So you can send your rains and your hurricanes, but you've got to understand that I'm going to remain unstained, glowing with my freedom flowing, just like the untapped reservoirs of oil before capitalism gets a grip. The riches I choose to sip, filling every vein, cell, and internal tissue. Please don't make your problems my issues, because I'm here enjoying me, enjoying my melanated beauty. Divided we fall, but united we can stand. So overstand, I'm not just a survivor, but an overcomer and a thriver. And understand that your negativity will not muffle me, stray me, sway me, or play me. The blessings I create are also for others and not just for me. I will stand victoriously in my glory. So did I ever tell you that no strong wind will ever blow me down? No strong wind will ever blow me down. I may bend, I may twist, but understand that my life is a gift.
No strong wind, rush or otherwise, will ever blow us down. Thank you, Omar Ryan, for sending me the link to the story I referenced early, looking at the Privy Council and the fact that even Britain itself is trying to kick us out, but we are holding on for dear life. The story published on 24th September 2009 by the BBC, and it says, the future of the Privy Council as a final court of appeal for most CARICOM member states has been placed into doubt after comments by Britain's top judge. Lord Nicholas Phillips has said that the law lords on the Privy Council were spending a disproportionate amount of time on cases from former colonies, mostly in the Caribbean. He will become the first president of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom when it comes into being next month. And you can catch up on that story. It's in the BBC archives. But the thinking at the time of the interview, in which he said in an ideal world, Commonwealth country, including those in the Caribbean, would stop using the Privy Council and set up their own final courts of appeal instead. The thinking at the time was that the Caribbean Court of Appeal, the Caribbean Court of Justice, would step up to the plate. As Lord Phillips did say that he was looking to take some of the pressure of the Supreme Court. We're going to be wrapping shortly this segment of the program, which is looking at Empire, Windrush, Tillbury Docks and the Caribbean in Britain, to go to another matter. Of course, you know we can't wrap the program entirely without touching on what's happening with COVID-19 and human rights and so on. And so Yvonne McCallum-Sobers will be my very special guest in the next segment of the program. So even as we remember and recall this May 24, 1948, then there are some issues that we really do have to deal with, that we really do have to look at. And that, of course, includes the monarchy as head of state of Jamaica. And whether it's constitutional monarchy, it's other kind of monarchy, whatever kind of monarchy it is, and our dependence on Britain for only God knows what. That it's about time that we start thinking again about constitutional reform, that we start thinking about getting rid of the monarchy as head of state. We have to do that. We have to question ourselves about the role of a governor general in Jamaica, regardless of who it is. This is something that we have to talk about seriously. By the way, who pays the governor general? That's the question. Who pays the Governor General? I did promise you that I was going to read for you my poem entitled End of the Line, a story told to me by my grandfather, who, up to the time of his passing at 90 years old, was careful to honor someone who was killed by racist police in Britain by riding the double-decker. This is how he honored him, by riding the double-decker. It's called End of the Line, and it's from stories my grandfather of the Windrush generation told me. He rides a double-decker to remind himself of the banana boat, and that time they detained him. 7 hours in his bed, 7 long hours, his pleas still ringing in his head. The mattress is wet, I gotta go pee, Bobby. He rides for his brother, no less human, loitering with intent to cross, but the traffic blocking him path. 7 long hours, he's sound asleep and in bed, 7:30 in the morning when they came. It's a numbers game. He rides a double-decker for his brother, loitering with intent to cross, but the traffic blocking him path. And it's not him fault that they're raiding Dratford, Bishop Stratford, Hitching and Bradford. He rides a double-decker still carrying the offensive weapon. What happened to the mangrove? You come from there? The fading ink on the sign he carries silently screams, we're not here, not there, not criminals, not here. Here it's a crime to come to Britain. That's how he got 7 hours in his head. The mattress is wet. I gotta go pee, Bobby. It was 7:30 when they came. 7:30 in the morning when they took his name. They drug squad, they bomb squad, the death squad, the God squad. That's how they play the game. I got my papers, Bobby. I'm not mad. I come from the mangroves. I know they're bleeding bad. He's riding the double-decker to the end of a line to remind himself of the banana boat, and that time they hung him for loitering with intent to cross over, but they're blocking him path.
A generation of Brits who came here as children have been facing the threat of deportation from the UK. So what? They went to British schools. They worked British jobs. They built British lives. But recently, some were denied healthcare, lost jobs, were detained and faced being thrown out of their country. They are the Windrush generations. So what is the Windrush generation? Between 1948 through to the late 60s, more than 500,000 people came to the UK from the Caribbean. It was the first wave of Commonwealth immigration. They were invited over by the British government to work in public services and help rebuild the country after the Second World War.
Where do you come from?
Jamaica.
Have you brought your children with you?
Yes.
How many?
5 children.
Those children who came here are now pensioners. People like Michael Braithwaite, who left Barbados when he was 9. He was told he was illegal after reapplying for his job in a school, a job which he then lost because he couldn't show the right paperwork.
Do I belong where I am for what I've been here all this time? And to be put in that position, it sort of made me feel like I'm an alien, basically, or I have no status.
Another who has suffered is Hubert Leslie. He came from Jamaica on his mum's passport and found himself out of work as a maintenance man because the Home Office had declared him an illegal immigrant.
I feel like an alien in this country. Yeah. Because if I've worked and lived in this country for a long time and the Home Office would come and look at me and tell me that I've got no status in this country and I've worked and I've paid my tax.
So what led to the threats of deportation? It's really important to know that the Windrush generation have been living here legally. Tougher immigration rules were brought in by Theresa May when she was Home Secretary, where, in her own words, a hostile environment was created to expel illegal immigrants. Remember those vans? The problem is that a lot of the Windrush generations never applied for a British passport when they arrived here, because back then the kids would have travelled on their parents' passports when they came to this country. When their parents or grandparents passed away, they were then left with no ID of their own. Anthony Bryan came to the UK from Jamaica with his family in 1965. At only 7 years old, he arrived on his brother's passport. When he recently tried to apply for his own British passport to visit his mum in Jamaica, he had no proof of ID, so immigration came knocking.
They said I'm illegal. Their job is to move me out of the country. They had a plane ticket for me. Now, I phoned my missus and I said to her, they tell me that they got a plane ticket for me and they're going to move me out of the country.
Anthony is actually one of the lucky ones. He recently found out that he's allowed to stay in his country. When immigration rules changed in 1971, anyone from the Windrush generation living in the UK was automatically given indefinite leave to remain. But the Home Office didn't keep a record of those people, and it's estimated more than 50,000 may not have registered their right to live here. So what did they have to do to stay? To prove they're living legally in the country, they were asked to provide at least one document, sometimes more, like a payslip, medical record, bank statement for every year that they've been in the country. That could mean finding a doctor's note from 50 years ago. I mean, would you be able to find one from 3 years ago, let alone half a century? For most, the UK is the only home they know. Until now, they have never questioned whether they belonged here.
These individuals, having been here from childhood, had no sense in their minds that they're not British. And that is really the tragedy of it.
So what has been decided? A U-turn was made after Theresa May was urged by at least 140 MPs across Parliament to change this policy. More than 130,000 people signed a petition asking the government to grant the Windrush generation amnesty. Labour's David Lammy made an impassioned speech to the Home Secretary Amber Rudd in the Commons.
This is a day of national shame, and it has come about because of a hostile environment policy that was begun under her Prime Minister.
The UK Immigration Minister, Caroline Noakes, admits that terrible mistakes have been made.
These are people who we welcomed here way back in the 50s and 60s, and it's really important to me that we correct any error and that we send a message of reassurance to people who are here. We want to get this right for them.
Theresa May has apologised to Commonwealth leaders for the anxiety caused over the controversy. That's probably a good sign for people here. The only problem is that some people might have already been deported. So what happens next? A Windrush task force has now been set up by the Home Secretary Amber Rudd to address the situation. But the Home Office has stressed the importance of a robust immigration policy to root out those who actually are here illegally. Given the attention this story has got, it's likely the government will find a solution to this issue. But for the Windrush generation, will it really make up for the way that many of their lives were turned upside down? Some people reckon this is a possible glimpse into what could happen after Britain leaves the European Union. Now, obviously, the status of migrants from Europe is a totally different situation to the Windrush generation. But this whole thing has raised questions and concerns over how the Home Office will cope with the changes to the immigration system. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
During this COVID-19 pandemic, financial concerns are paramount. We are here to help guide you through. offering
Matter of fact, no long talking. Things tight and you need help. That's why BCIC is returning over $50 million in premiums to our private motor and PPP customers. So, what's your insurance company doing for you? BCIC. Everything we do is for you.
And we're shifting gears a bit as we go now to the phone lines. We're going to be talking about human rights in a little, well, right now actually, as Yvonne McCullough-Sobers, my sister friend, joins me on the lines, retired teacher, management consultant, community and human rights activist, a specialist. She's an author, she's a writer of fiction and non-fiction. She's a consultant editor at iEdit. Good morning, Yvonne. Good morning.
What an introduction on a Sunday morning.
I'm telling you.
To you. How are you?
Because I know that both of us want to sleep because we were at the Clash last night.
Oh, please. Last night was something else.
Wasn't it though, Yvonne? Wow.
Yeah, but my winner didn't win the foreign start.
Yeah, mine too. And listen, Yvonne, I know we're Beanie Man fans. We better just say that and just put it out there and leave it out. Everybody know that by now too. It's not no secret. But we really enjoyed Jamaica won. We're just saying Jamaica won.
Oh, we did.
Right?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
What a dance.
And, when I think of what our musicians and I'm not boasting about my age, but I go back to music, to Mento.
Yeah, okay.
And when I think of what they have all done for my spirit, for our spirits,
I'm telling you.
Last night just felt like a culmination. 500,000 people.
Yeah, it is exactly what the doctor ordered. I think it boosted a lot of immune systems. Because we were dancing. So even I was preparing for the program last night while it was on, so I thought I could do both at the same time. But when we hear, I had to get up off of my chair, and I had to just do some tati and some bogle and some pepper seed.
You had to.
It was. I loved it, really.
Wonderful.
Yeah, congratulations to everybody who was involved in that.
Who conceptualized it, arranged it. And let us for a moment give thanks to COVID.
Yeah, because I coined a term this morning, COVID-8. Because I was saying COVID idea, and then it's about COVID idea, so on. So COVID-8, and those are the COVID-8ers. So those are people who come up with ideas during COVID.
Exactly. Because it really has pushed us all.
Yes.
To think of different things, adjust real fast.
I'm telling you, man. Necessity is the mother of invention, and a lie.
It is. So. No, the question is, do we keep this going or do we slide back?
Well, I think we can't afford to slide back. We just have to go forward.
We cannot. And something that is on my mind, apart from the joy of last night, is the recollection that this weekend is 10 years since the Tivoli Gardens massacre. Me say.
Yes, good term.
Okay.
Yes, that's the word.
10 years. And I don't see that we have learned enough. Young men, poor people are still on the wrong end of the law as far as the state is concerned.
Yes. And and when you put that within the context of, say, yesterday was the anniversary of the hanging, the execution of Sam Sharp, who fought, who led that war, that revolution for emancipation. When you put that in context with on the weekend, of the Tivoli massacre, and the point you're making that the question is, what have we learned?
What have we learned? How has the culture of justice changed? Because last night, to go backwards and forwards, we saw Bean Man and Bounty Killer in a radical change.
Yes.
Radical. It shows how much change has taken place since stamp shop since Bakramasa. Has Bakramasa gone away? And the truth of the matter is that Bakramasa slightly changed shade.
Is a shapeshifter? Is a shapeshifter, really?
There's been no serious shift.
Right.
Because when I look even at the justice system, and I was saying, okay, so, I mean, during the time of COVID now, what are the changes, whatever. Well, you know, the marginalized are even more marginalized, which is our practice.
And you have been writing about this, Yvonne, why was one of the main reasons why I asked you to come on this morning. Because within the social media spaces on your blog, you've been saying, let us take seriously the statement Jamaica's Attorney General Marlene Mullahu Ford made in July 2016 when she declared that some fundamental rights and freedoms guaranteed to Jamaicans may have to be abrogated, abridged or infringed. And she said that in 2016.
The state,
yes,
which has an ought to protect all of the rights.
So you're calling into question human rights, possible human rights infringement for during this period of COVID-19. And you've been looking at this closely, Yvonne. Thank you so much for bringing this to the fore. It was important for someone to do so. I want to go through them with you because you go right to the Constitution. You said that this might have been bypassed. Talk to us about that.
Right. So these rights are guaranteed to us in the Constitution. Now, at the same time, it's important to note that the government, this administration, has not used the route available in the Constitution. The constitutional route is to declare a state, what would then be a state of public disaster, if they want to call it emergency, whatever, to declare that. That would be the Governor General advised by the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, and so on. So that would be the Governor General doing that. The state of emergency would last 14 days because a state of emergency is intended to enable the government to manage a situation which is unforeseen, unforeseeable, which is beyond their normal capacity to manage, even what the normal laws are. So you have to justify that. It has to be justifiable, as the Constitution says, in a democratic society. Now, whether we are democratic might be the subject of another the program.
And I agree with you on that, and we must make it so.
However, there are those constraints. It has to be justified, and it's to last, in the first instance, no more than 14 days, because it is expected, like emergency surgery, to create a pathway to normalcy. That the pathway might not be easy apart from the emergency.
And what are the likely consequences of the Constitution being bypassed? Because we all agree that the Constitution has been bypassed here.
Well, what we would need to do, and what citizens would need to do, they would need to take this matter to the Constitutional Court, because that happened, and that is why the National Identification System was ruled unlawful, unconstitutional. They had to take it back. No part of it, you can't use it. Start all over again. Because it was found to infringe people's rights without the adequate justification for so doing.
And of course, someone took that to court.
Someone took that to court. So in the same way, this would need to be taken to court, because the Constitution does also, given the state of emergency, allows for a tribunal to review a case. So if people feel that their rights have been infringed, for instance, the people of St. Mary, they were under lockdown orders for 6 days before the orders were signed. So that means anything that the security forces may have done in those 6 days is unlawful. There's no law to back it up at that time.
And this, we must explore this, you know. We must explore
that basis.
Yeah, and this must be explored. This must be explored, Yvonne, because, and you know why? Because if this is unlawful, as you're saying here,
yes,
then what we're giving a little. What else will the government take? Because when we relax the Constitution, when we relax the laws to give government more power, you're talking about dictatorship, you know.
Yeah, yes, I guess. Oh yes. And that is some of what I am uncomfortable with at this time, because instead of you going the constitutional route, which offers some amount of protection, but I need to say to you that even the review tribunal, which is supposed to be there in a state of emergency, although there have been states of emergency declared here in recent times, I'm going to just go from 2018. The review tribunal for these states of emergency was only set up recently in 2020.
Oh.
This is to allow, so this is one other way constitutionally that people can challenge the actions of the security force of the government if they feel that they have infringed the rights. So you have that route.
Right.
But the problem with that route, the problem with any route, given a culture of injustice, is that when you go to the review tribunal, first of all, many of the poor youth, and it's always poor youth, who are picked up, and that's what a state of emergency allows you to do, to pick up and lock up people without a warrant. So many of those poor youth may not even be aware that they can go to this tribunal. And if they are so aware, they may not be able to afford the legal representation.
And this is
the
why.
Other thing
is
that when the matter goes to the tribunal and a decision is taken, let's say you get to that point, a decision is taken, the minister can ignore it. He's not obliged to take it on. So I'm saying, so that route. Now to go back now to the route that they're using the Disaster Risk Management Act.
Yes.
Right. And that's what all the references are to right now. No, that act was written, I have it on good information, it was created to give ODPEM the power to act in an emergency without having to go back to Parliament every time.
But interestingly enough, we have not heard a peep out of ODPEM throughout all of this.
Please, all of that act makes reference to ODPEM. All of it, what ODPEM can do, what they can't do, what they must set up, the various parish councils, the zonal councils, everything is there in the act. But the part that has been taken out is towards the very end, when it sets out what are the Prime Minister's powers under this act. And under this act, the Prime Minister is able to declare a disaster area. So that's what he did. He declared the whole island a disaster area. Under this act, he is able to sign orders which have the force of law. Now, according to the act, he's supposed to be advised by, guess who? ODPEM. Okay? Because those are our people with the skills.
And I noticed that you said that the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, appears to have been sidelined in the COVID-19 calamity. You say in your post that ODPEM is a body with the experience, the expertise and network, the communication capacity and overall operation skills to advise the policymakers and implement policy decisions. The role of this agency is mandated by law. But you're suggesting that ODPEM has been sidelined.
Has been sidelined, not a word. And they are the ones, for instance, let us take the chaos that ensued in Portmore, in Spanish Town, in Ayers and St. Catherine, when there was a lockdown order for people. In Portmore has, let us say, about 250,000 people and 8 supermarkets. Because a lot of people do their shopping in town because they work in town.
Right.
So now, when you are going to do that, you are asking for chaos. You are asking for bungling up. When you are dealing with people who may not be part of the formal banking system, so they have to get little money from foreign remittances to go buy what they need to buy at that time. No, an agency like ODPEM, to my awareness, with its deep roots in community, with its connection with Red Cross, Social Development Commission, you name them, Food to the Poor, you name them, would be able to advise, look, if you're going to do this, you need to have X, Y, Z in place.
But it might be deliberate enough because, and this is how we speculated in this space, that the idea is to create order out of chaos. What is the chaos that you yourself making?
Yes.
So this is deliberate, and it might explain why the ODPEM is sidelined in the way that you've pointed out, and that it is being sidelined. And many persons would, after reading your post, would really be shaken. That's what I did when I saw that. I said, but where's ODPEM in all of this?
ODPEM is able to mobilize communities, sometimes in 3 days, because that might be the time, the warning that they have, that a hurricane is coming. 3 days.
Another thing that you have said, Yvonne, is that the government is currently ruling by press conference. It's government by press conference.
Yes, because I like to see what the orders are. Because, for instance, just to give you an example why it's important to see the orders, because last night, getting ready for this program, I said, let me look on the most recent order. That's when I found out that bars are not supposed to serve people over age 65.
Oh.
That's part of the order for the reopening of the bars.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
No.
I didn't know that.
So, and if I go back to the Act, the Act requires that the orders must be made public. The orders must be published at every police station and every post office and in media so that people know what the orders say. Now, you may know what the orders say, because I, again, had to reread a couple more times to figure out what the curfew times were.
Well, that's pure confusion. That is pure confusion. Yeah.
Because sometimes it's from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock in the morning. Another time it's minimum.
And pay special attention to tomorrow, because I think tomorrow is a one-off in terms of what the curfew hours are. I don't have them right here on Shamar. Probably won't card them, but tomorrow I think is like, being Labor Day, which is not happening.
Right. Because I think that today is going to be from 3 o'clock and tomorrow from 3 o'clock. No, you want me to ask the question because, you see, let me just backtrack a little bit. Because we are in Bakra and plantation culture.
Yes.
There is this belief that you have to force people, you have to coerce, you have to bring big stick over them head. No, when it comes to health, health is always going to be a matter of personal responsibility. So it's not a law that will do it, though a law may support compliance, but ultimately people have to comply voluntarily.
Well, because you cannot legislate behavioral change. And so there has to be a way to...
You cannot do it.
Yes.
You can create an environment, but you cannot force people.
You have
whole business now of acting as if you have to coerce people is, and also showing that people are not compliant is also, in my view, setting up people, because if you have a spike, you have a point, like how everybody now pointing to our Jamaicans who have a right to come over. To say, well, you have some of them now who test positive for COVID. Well, so what? This is their home.
This is their home, and this is their right.
This is our, not their home. Our home.
So we said Monday. So we said Monday. Just because all people are listening. Monday, May 25, from 3 p.m. to Tuesday, May 26 at 5 a.m. So we're talking about the Labor Day weekend curfew hours. So today is Sunday, May 24, from 3 p.m. to Labor Day, Monday, May 25. It's disappeared from the screen. But so it's a whole bag of confusion. You have also said that parliamentary debate is non-existent in this crisis. I want you to build up on that for me, because that's pretty interesting.
All right. Because when you have a state of emergency, and I mean, trust me, I'm not saying that state of emergency is great, obviously, but I'm just saying that it is at least constitutional. When you have that, the state of emergency has to come after the 14 days. It has to come to Parliament. And if it is to continue, there must be a two-thirds majority vote in Parliament. So you need to have debate and vote by our parliamentary representatives. No. When you have what you have now, which is government by edict, so-called order, when you have that now, you have a situation where the order is made public on a Monday in a press conference. Sometimes modifications to the order are made by a press release.
Right.
Okay. So you have Monday, the normal routine is Monday, you have a press conference, the Prime Minister's press conference. That's when we learn what is the latest order.
Right.
When you have Tuesday now, Parliament meets, but it is very clear, and I heard the Speaker reiterate it several times this last Tuesday, that this is not a matter for debate. You can only ask questions, but you can't chat, you can't vote, you can't do nothing. It's a done deal. No, because I try to follow up and see what the orders say, because you need, every citizen needs to know what the orders say, so that they can know if they are infringing the law or not. So if somebody who is over 65 go in a bar this morning, I can guarantee you, they will not know that they are breaking a law.
The question then is, why hasn't the opposition objected to government by press conference and the non-existent parliamentary debate? Why is the opposition silent on that?
I can only speculate on this. All right. My speculation is that because of the culture, I go back to the plantocracy culture, the great house, the backward culture. We tend to like authoritarianism. We give a lot of credit and space to authority. Especially when we are in fear and panic, as we are now, for good reason, with COVID. And so when the Prime Minister acts in an authoritarian way, the tendency is to applaud him. When the
authoritarian or dictatorial, because it seems to me that if this is a democracy, and as you said before, we might have to have a conversation later on about whether or not this is really a democracy.
We have to have that. Well, I mean, but if, then as you say, there is an opposition, but there is also election.
There is election, but that would seem, it would seem to me then that this is why the opposition should be even more vocal. You understand what I'm saying? So why is the opposition so silent?
But I also can see a level of fear because everybody is going back at the authority.
Well, if fear, well, at least you're writing out and we are speaking out in this space, because if fear is going to lock our jaws, that's a serious sickness. That's death.
Yes, and yes again, Gabu. It's fear, and all too often, fear locks our jaws, and it not lock yours or mine.
No,
but they know it locks a lot of jaws, and those people. I mean, I can tell you, in social media, I've been cussed rotten.
Well, so too me, but well, and thank you for the defense in social media. I saw, but you know how it is. Sometimes we have to stay out of it before them cause me more.
No,
but thank you so much.
In fact, there was somebody who is a former student of mine who cussed me out because when he said that people are not complying with the protocols and the instructions, and that what we need to do is to put soldiers and dogs to force people to comply. Well, I told him that perhaps he had forgotten to include the water hoses.
Of course. Yes, well said.
Part of enforcing. And I tried to say to him, but look, you cannot require compliance when it is impossible for people to do. If people don't have water, then can't wash them hands.
Right.
If people don't have space,
them can't turn inside.
So people are sleeping in our bed.
Right.
Then 6 feet apart makes no sense.
If your children are hungry, you're going to seek food because survival.
If people hungry, then go and look for food.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to require compliance, you need also to understand why it is that people may find it difficult and in some cases impossible to comply.
You've also said, Yvonne, that the right to citizenship guaranteed under the Constitution appears to have been downgraded to a discretionary allowance. And you say that as a result, Jamaican citizens have suffered the indignity of being treated as refugees by their home government.
Yes, please. Because again, I don't want to make the Constitution sound like a magic thing, because the same Constitution was set up by the same backward people. So,
yes.
As I said, that's for another talk. But the Constitution requires and guarantees right of entry for Jamaicans. Anybody to them country, and we want right of entry. International law also supports right of entry for citizens of a country. Now, both the Constitution and international law allow for what they call derogations. In other words, they accept that there may be certain crises where the rights may indeed have to be derogated from. When you have crises like those, then you have to have protocols that ensure that despite what is happening, people may have a few extra hurdles to jump over, but then can come home.
Well, that's the thing. And how it is that an entire nation, well, at least we had at the end, the nation rising up and saying, no, take our people home now, and I think that people power really worked in that in this last instant. But what it shows us, and I hope we have learned some lessons as you raised earlier from all of what we're going through here, because you'll have another pandemic, you'll have another epidemic. These things will happen. The lessons that we have learned and what we put in place, but human rights, I think. Civil society must stand up for the protection of basic fundamental human rights, which we see being eroded under this dictatorial system. And we are seeing dictatorship. You call it authoritarianism, fine, but it is straight dictatorship that we're seeing here. And there is hardly any protest.
This is what I am personally seeing, because one of the problems anywhere where you have had emergencies and governments have tried to or managed to gobble up power, it is the hardest thing to get them to give it back up again, because there are certain habits that form in legitimized abuse of human rights.
Yes.
So for instance, I mean, when you know that you are likely to have to lock your borders, which was the border locking came from when? About March. But you knew you could have to do that from December, when COVID made itself known in China.
Right, or at least January, when people were talking about it more,
Right.
Yes.
But definitely from January.
Yes.
So since you know that, January to June, make us call it to May. January to May, and you can't have a contingency plan then. Okay? So we're not allowing the free and unfettered entry. But the same thing that they are doing now.
And I'm cutting.
And you have to do a quarantine, the exact same thing that they're doing now could have been part of a plan if there was a plan.
It was always part of a plan, because it's a global plan, and it is unfolding, so people knew what they were going to do. I'm out of time totally, Yvonne, but before I wrap with you, I have a minute, and I want to say to you quickly.
Sure.
So we have JPS, and we have Water Commission and those people, and JPS definitely, we have an increase, we say an increase in the rate. You have to pay more now for light, and pay more for water. In the middle of a lockdown, when people have been laid off and pay cut and all, what kind of stupidness is that? How could this happen? What kind of abuse is this?
You see, let me just say this real fast, that the women leaders of the world have stood out in this COVID crisis. When Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, was asked why does she think that this is so, because she's also a female leader standing out in my mind in this crisis.
Yes, definitely.
She said 2 words: we care.
Well,
we care.
That's a bottom line. That is the bottom line. But somebody must stand up.
Just do whatever.
Somebody.
When people out of work, when people in them hands. No, but we care.
How can you increase the electricity right now? How can you do that when people have lost their jobs? How can you increase water when people have lost their jobs? Yvonne,
you can do it if you are bankrupt in the greatest that you see yourself, and say you can pay the rate, even if the rate triple or quadruple. So why should you care? You have to care first. That has to be the starting point.
I think that's the bottom line.
And then you work things around. Because, I'll just say this real quick as we go on, that Mia Mottley, when the government of Trinidad refused to take their citizens just like we did with some of
our own, yes.
Keep them out at sea. But they refused to. Mia Mottley took the Trinidadians in.
Yes.
Gave them the same 14-day curfew, 14-day quarantine, and so on. That is caring. Caring for your brother and sister, not goes beyond even
and
caring.
that is the bottom line. And the state must show care.
The citizens citizens of another country who happen to be human beings.
Yvonne, thank you so much, my sister. Continue doing the great work you're doing with the blog in the social media spaces and in the nation. Thank you so much, my sister.
And thank you so much for having me on the program.
Yes.
All the best to you. And all the best in your own struggle for the people.
Thank you so much, my sister. And be the man forever. All right. So, congratulations again to those two, Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. Jamaica won. This is how we're coming out. We really wanted to talk about Egypt accepting the Ethiopian-Sudan proposal to renegotiate the dam dispute, but we'll pick that up later on. And this giant hydropower dam in Africa is worrying the US and China. We'll pick that up later. Thank you so much to all who participated in the program this morning. The Empire Windrush, Tillbury docks and the Caribbean in Britain. 72 years after the Empire Windrush set sail from the Kingston Harbour for Tillbury docks in Britain. That's exactly to the date. Today, May 24. All right, so tomorrow it will be Africa Day. And let me just quickly tell you of an important event that you can catch for Africa Day on by the Center for Caribbean Research at the University of the West Indies. So, all right. So the University of the West Indies Center for Reparation Research, Equality, Equity, Justice, Human Rights, just as we've been talking, imperatives for Africans now, not later. And that's happening Monday, May 25, African Liberation Day, 9 a.m. Jamaica time. You can watch at uitv.org or facebook.com. Professor Vereen Shepherd will speak. Professor Rupert Lewis, Professor Hilary Beckles will speak. Myrtle Del Zoom and some and others will be addressing will be speaking at the conference. Equality, equity, justice, human rights, imperatives for Africans now, not later, as part of the Africa Day celebrations here on the ground in Jamaica. All right, so thanks once again to Brother Barrett. Thank you so much for speaking to us about your Windrush experiences. Ashton Barrett, 90 years old. Al Hamilton, I'm so sorry we had telephone problems and so couldn't get you online. Bishop Dr. Desmond Jadu, thank you so much. Thank you so much also to Rachel Okello. Thanks also to my sister we just heard from, Yvonne McCullough-Sobers. And to my broadcast assistant, Shamara Preston. My name is Kabu Ma'adkiru. Remember, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. This is how we say goodbye for today. We're making way now for the big A inside of the Sunday sunshine. Remember to boost your immune systems. Go outside and get some sunshine, vitamin D. Exercise. Jog on the spot if you don't have anywhere to exercise. Just jog on the spot, apart together. Remember, we tell you that, but they're apart together thing already. Bend and touch your knees and so on. Do some stretches. Okay? And eat right. Drink your little ginger tea. Drink your little moringa tea. Drink your little rosemary tea. Eat your vegetables and your fruits. Vitamin C. Don't leave that out. The Big A is here with this Sunday. Big A, who won? Who won the clash? We've been saying that already. Big A. Off the air, you want me lock it up and you tell me? Yeah, Jamaica won. What a Beanie and Bounty, who won? Don't say it. You know why you can't say it?
There's not a competition.
It's the same reason why I can't say it. No. So listen.
No, there's not a let me tell you.
It was a clash.
No, it was not a clash.
Well, it was promoted as a clash.
It was an exhibition.
Never promoted as an exhibition.
No, that has nothing to do with what it turned out to be.
Well, it was an exhibition. It turned out to be an expedition. Exhibition.
It's like going to a hockey game and watch a fight.
Okay.
I just know what it is, right?
Right.
I just know what it is. No, Jamaica won.
Jamaica won, that's true.
In my mind.
Yeah.
And it is immaterial.
But there's been a boundary?
Yeah, because that is objective.
Right, it's subjective. But for some of us...
Because there's not a set standard of rules that would make anybody a winner. Like a football game, you know that you have to kick outside the line.
Right.
You must get the ball and the goal. And
there's never a set standard of rules over the years for the Clash Brigade. You're being diplomatic.
No.
Beanie Man won.
No, hold on.
And Bounty Killer won. For the Bounty fans, Bounty won.
No, hold on, man.
For the Beanie Man fans, Beanie won.
There are competitions
right.
that these two brothers participated in over the years.
Right.
That have had set rules.
No, but
based on the set rules.
No, it's not true, Biggie. Because the people usually decide who wins without even knowing the rules.
No. There are competitions too that people say no bad word, no repeating of songs or whatever it is.
Right,
and they
but
have
then
participated in that, and based on that set of those set of rules, then you can establish a winner.
No, the court could establish a winner, but the people would still determine the people's winner. I've never gone to a clash.
Of course. But remember that there are
because I take marks from Beanie Man.
No, hold on.
For the lyrics.
There are several competitions where a trophy was hoisted after the competition, which means that somebody
try giving that trophy to somebody who, just because the person did say something when never did the rules, that's against the rules, but the people say that person the winner, and see if you mash up.
That too.
Right.
No, that too. So what are you asking?
What are we talking about?
No, what are we talking? You're asking me to declare the
winner
of the
of the exhibition, yes.
Of the 2 million people. I can't be.
No, I'm asking for your own opinion, Biggie. Your personal opinion.
No.
Which you gave me. You said Jamaica won, and that's good enough.
Jamaica won. I just sat there and said. Wow.
Oh, you were sitting?
Yeah.
You were dancing?
Actually, I was sitting and I said, wow.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself very fortunate to have been a part of the process in putting these two brothers on the map. And I feel particularly proud to see in a direct way the product of some of the work that I have put in as a DJ over the years.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not single in this.
Yes.
Right? I'm pretty sure, and in fact, IRFM should stand up.
Well, me too.
I'm proud of this moment.
Yeah, me too.
Because that era of music was piloted.
True.
And guided
by
a large part.
Yes.
By IRFM, and then the dance hall, Stone Love and Renaissance and Copper Shot and all of these sounds of the 90s should also feel proud of the contribution that they have played in getting dance hall to this level. Even when people say nonsense music and people say it's not going nowhere and all of this kind of thing, and we persevered. And this is one of the crowning moments.
It is
for dance.
This
is what I'm just saying.
You want to be that guy? You want to be that guy?
What?
Do you want to be that guy?
Which guy?
Beanie Man. The Beanie Man asked the police, right. Do you want to be that guy? I'm just taking just the takeaways from it. Is a Mimi. Do you want to be that guy?
No, that's what I'm saying. It was Jamaica who won.
Believe
it's
me.
Immaterial. The technicalities as to whether you think is Beanie Man had the edge or Bounty Killer had the edge. That is immaterial to me.
It is immaterial, I agree.
It is Jamaica that won last night.
True, but there are some of us who are still like Bounty fan or Beanie fan.
I am not a fan of any artist, I'll tell you this.
Either way.
I am not a fan of any artist.
Because I know you.
I am a fan of the music.
I know you.
I am a fan of the music.
I know who you think win.
No. I am not a fan of any artist, and
you're a fan of the music of the artist.
Persons who know me know this very well.
You're a fan of the music of the artist.
No, I am a fan of the music. Full stop.
Produced by the artist or done sung by the artist.
No.
Performed by the artist. You think everybody can go do?
No, it is immaterial as to who do it. Whether it is being about the Cableton, Sizzler, Frisco kid, or some kid that I don't know from nowhere.
All right.
Good music.
I'm not going to argue that with you because I know that you're a good music man. That is what I know of you for true. But I also know that when we turn off the microphone, you're going to tell me who win.
No, Jamaica.
Well, listen. So let me say, I made a tatty last night. I still can't tatty. And pepper seed and bogle and we left out a name. All of them. All of them. Butterfly. Yes. So it was really good. Really, really good. And like BJ saying, we'll be saying.
World dance. Remember world dance?
World dance. Yeah, man. World dance. A world dance was the biggest dance last night. And that's it. All right. So this is where we say goodbye for today. The Big A is up next. We should not be discussing this at 10:10. But here we are. You know, it's a big thing that happened. If you miss it, you can still catch it. I'm sure that it's online out there somewhere. YouTube, Instagram, somewhere. Catch it now. By the way, my name is Kabu. See you next week. Walk good. Tell him I don't want to hold it.
IRA FM really rocking, you know.